Hey, Corey, how you doing today?
Hello. I'm doing great, thanks. How are you?
I'm excellent. It's an honor to be speaking with you.
Oh, well, an honor to be spoken with. How's the weather there today?
Not too bad, actually. It's a lot calmer than it's been in the past, but you never know what you're going to get here in the Midwest.
That is for sure. It can change every 15 minutes, right? If you don't like it, come back out 15 minutes later.
Exactly. Well, Corey, I know we're talking about your new album that's out, Angelic to the Core, and it sounds like it's a pretty daunting task, I guess, a double album. Can you tell the listeners a bit about it? What are we in for?
Sure. Well, you know what? It is a musical journey. That's the best way to describe it. It is something that I don't think, really has ever been done before, in the sense that it's a pop album, but it's a concept album. So it's a double album. It's 22 songs, so it's a ton of material, a lot of new material. And it also happens to feature some of the greatest pop artists and, musicians around right now. So everybody from, hip-hop artists, because we do have some hip-hop on there, we have some EDM, we have some classic rock, we have metal. I mean, there's literally all different types of music, and it really takes you on a bit of a journey. So as you go through the journey, it's kind of you run into these encounters of different artists, and there's skits in between, and it all ties together and tells a story. It's got comedy, it's got action, it's got adventure. It's like a movie.
Yeah, and I know you've been working on this for quite a while, almost a decade or so. Is that right?
That is correct, yes. It actually has been a decade. And, the reason for that, of course, is because you get interrupted and you do other stuff, including another album, which I put out in between with my band, The Truth Movement. So we put out an album called Technology Analogy in 2010, which actually interrupted, this album getting finished, and then we went out and toured on it. But the thing is, when you're doing a pop album, it's very important that you stay contemporary and keep the songs current, because you want to obviously be able to get, airplay on top 40 stations and all of that. So, the way we did it is we just kind of kept producing things as we would go. We would update the sounds, we would bring in new technology or new instrumentation, or, kind of change the mix a little bit or change the beat. So, you got to kind of give it a little bit of an update every few months, really.
Yeah, and I know maybe some of the people out there, if they only know you from your acting, you mentioned you had an album out in between. You've had a few of them over the years, and you actually played all the instruments on this one, too. I mean, so obviously you know what you're doing.
Well, yes. I mean, this is my fifth and sixth album, I guess you would say. So I've had two prior albums with my band, Truth Movement, and then also two prior solo albums. And as I've developed, I've kind of, developed more musically. So in the beginning, I was just really a singer-songwriter and a dancer. I mean, I started as a singer-dancer. And then I started writing about 13 years old, released my first single at 16 years old, which was actually on my movie soundtrack for Dream a Little Dream.
Sure.
And that was my very first single, which was called Something in Your Eyes. And then after that, I kind of got more into the singing and songwriting and trying to produce my own stuff. And so by my first album, I would say I was playing, a little bit of the instrumentation here and there. And as I got deeper and deeper into each album, I would kind of experiment a little bit more and a little bit more, leading to where I am today, which is, now I've got a studio in the house. We have an engineer that works exclusively for me. So when he comes in, I'm able to just go in the studio and, jam or, try different sounds or experiment with different things. So it's really, you start learning it more as you go, and you create more as you go, and you get more and more adventurous, basically, with the process as you learn, and you become more aware of your capabilities, or, you become less afraid to try new things.
Yeah, and you mentioned you got a lot of people you meet along the way throughout the album, and a lot of big names, too. You got Snoop Dogg, of course, on the single, Fred Durst, a lot of guys helping you out.
Oh, yeah, amazing list. I mean, really, we're so, I feel very blessed and very honored to have half of the people that I have on this album. I mean, literally, we have 5 generations of hip-hop artists. So, as you mentioned, Snoop Dogg, Fred Durst, Corrupt, Doc Ice, who is one of the, long-time classics of hip-hop, OG originator. Doc Ice, for those of you who don't remember, was one of the performers of the very first hip-hop album in history, which had the song Friends. Do you remember that song, Friends?
Yeah.
Friends. I don't know if you remember that, but it's an old one. And then there was Freaks Come Out at Night. But anyway, a lot of great songs from UTFO and Houdini were the names of the bands. But anyway, so 5 generations of hip-hop. And then you've got, more modern artists like Kaya Jones, who's from the Pussycat Dolls, or Poet from the Black Eyed Peas, and then some classic rock folks like Scott Page and John Caron from Toto and Pink Floyd, and all these great bands throughout history. So it really is a melding of many minds.
Yeah, like you mentioned, there's a little of everything on there for the listeners, and I like that you also have the track "Remember 222," your tribute to Corey Haim. I thought that was great. You put that on there.
Thank you. Yes, and that is definitely one of the more meaningful tracks on the album. Obviously, as a tribute to Corey, we put it out on the 5-year anniversary of his death as a single. And, the thing I really like about it, actually speaking of Scott Page, he's on that one. Scott Page was a sax player for both Toto and Pink Floyd. But Scott did some great work on that, along with Graham Ward, who is one of Paul McCartney's drummers. And, the song itself is very upbeat. It's very fun. And the thing that I love about it so much is that, when you listen to it, most tribute songs you hear, it's kind of like depressing or it brings you down or whatever. And with this one, it really kind of gives you, this feeling of like, you miss the past. It's very nostalgic, but it also puts a big smile on people's faces because it brings you back to a time when things were so much simpler.
Sure.
When you walked into the movie theater and you watched the movie, whether it was License to Drive or Dream a Little Dream, but you saw our movies and, it made people laugh and it made people smile and it just gave people the sense of adventure. And I think that's the feeling people get when they hear the song. So I'm very proud of it, and I think people really have been enjoying it.
Yeah, definitely. And again, the album Angelic to the Core is out now, and I've seen some live footage of you online. You mentioned touring with the Truth Movement. Will we see maybe some shows with this new one too?
Yeah, well, that's the idea. We actually put together an all-angel band to go along with the concept of the Corey's Angels and the Angelic to the Core theme. So, if you've seen any of our music videos, we always have our angels featured. So what we did is we put together a really great, talented musician group of girls who could go out there and play live to do the live shows. And we played a couple shows last year. One of them was Bonnaroo, the big festival out in Nashville. And we did that, and it went very well. We did a couple one-offs, and then we kind of, went back into the studio and finished up the album. So the plan now is to put together a full band of angels again and go out on the road and do a world tour.
Excellent. Yeah, that'd be awesome to see around these parts. Before we let you go, Corey, I got to ask you an acting question. We've heard rumors of maybe a Goonies sequel or a reunion or something like that. Can you give us an update on that maybe?
Well, that was the plan for a long time. I know that, everybody would love to see that happen, including myself. Nobody would love to see it more than me because, it was just a great piece of history and a great piece of cinema. But at the end of the day, because it was such a beloved piece of film history, I think that all of the filmmakers, including myself, are quite trepidatious, about the idea of moving forward. So it's one of those things where, we'd certainly be, I think all of us would be open to it, but it wouldn't be done without the right mixture, and it would certainly have to be, the perfect script, the perfect recipe, the perfect level of, the actors working together and all that sort of thing. And of course, the original director and Spielberg and everybody involved. So it's a multi-layered thing.
Well, do you see maybe another acting project in the works or something that you're working on now?
Sure. Well, I have a film coming out actually in just a few months, probably October, November, I'm thinking. But the film is called Corbin Nash, and it is actually a modern-day vampire comedy. So I play a vampire in it, and I play a tranny vampire at that. So There you go.
Excellent. Again, Corey, it's been an honor speaking with you. I'm looking forward to maybe seeing you on tour with this new album, and thanks a lot for being on with us today.
Well, I hope to see you out there. Thank you, sir, for the support. We appreciate it.
Definitely. Thanks a lot, man.
Okay, God bless.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.